Hello everyone, here I have an old broken Wi-Fi router. Instead of throwing it away, today I'm going to reuse some of its remaining components to build a simple antenna. Let's see if it can actually receive a signal. After opening it, I find that the two internal antenna wires are still in good condition and can be reused for this project. So, I use a soldering iron to heat and melt the solder joints on the circuit board. Then carefully detach the two antenna wires in preparation for the next assembly steps. Here, I prepare two short pieces of wire to connect to the two wires from the Wi-Fi router. Extending the wires makes the antenna much easier to assemble. First, I strip a short section of insulation from each wire to expose the copper conductor and prepare it for the connection. Next, I use heat shrink tubing to protect the wire joints. The tubing provides electrical insulation, strengthens the connection, and helps prevent short circuits or broken wires during use. First, I twist the red wire together with the gray wire from the Wi-Fi router. Once the wires are securely twisted together, I slide the heat shrink tubing over the joint. Then, I gently heat the tubing with a lighter until it shrinks tightly around the connection, creating a secure and well-insulated joint. Next, I connect the blue wire to the remaining wire from the router. I repeat the same process by twisting the wires together, sliding the heat shrink tubing over the joint, and heating it until it fits tightly around the connection. Every like and subscription motivates me to create more creative DIY projects. Thank you so much for your support. After finishing the wire connections, I reassemble the Wi-Fi router housing. This protects the internal components while giving the project a cleaner and sturdier structure. In the next step, I'll use a light bulb as the antenna's receiving element. First, I remove the metal cap from the light bulb. Next, I drill two opposite holes in the cap. These holes will be used to route and secure the receiving components, keeping them properly aligned. Then, I reuse a light bulb socket as the connection point between the receiving assembly and the Wi-Fi router. I bend a small section of the light bulb socket to create a clearance for the wires. To make the connection, I prepare a short piece of coaxial cable. First, I strip the outer insulation from one end of the cable to create a connection point. After removing the outer jacket, I gather the braided shielding into a single bundle. Next, I strip away the white insulation to expose the inner copper conductor. I then connect the cable to the metal terminals inside the light bulb socket and tighten the screws to ensure a secure electrical connection. Next, I screw the light bulb into the socket, completing the receiving assembly. At the other end of the coaxial cable, I also strip back the insulation to prepare another connection. Then, I install a TV antenna connector onto the cable. This TV connector allows the cable to plug directly into the antenna input of a TV or other receiving device, providing a secure connection and stable signal transmission while making installation quick and convenient. After that, I wrap electrical tape around the connection to protect and reinforce it. Finally, I mount the light bulb socket assembly onto the Wi-Fi router. To secure everything in place, I apply hot glue around the mounting area, ensuring the receiving assembly remains firmly attached during use. Next, I feed the two wires from the Wi-Fi router through the two small holes in the light bulb cap. This routing keeps the wires neat and helps reduce stress on the solder joints after assembly. Once the wires are properly positioned, I place each wire onto the solder pads on the light bulb circuit board and use a soldering iron to solder the connection securely. Then I solder the remaining wire to its corresponding solder pad, ensuring both connections are firm and reliable. Afterward, I inspect the solder joints to make sure they are secure and have good electrical contact. Finally, I reinstall the light bulb cap, completing the receiving assembly and finishing the homemade antenna. Now, I'm going to test it in real-world conditions to see how effective it really is. First, I'll switch to a TV channel to check the signal reception without connecting the antenna. As you can see, without the antenna connected, the TV only displays the message, no signal. Next, I'll connect the DIY antenna to the signal input on the back of the TV for the actual test. And here is the result. Almost immediately after connecting the antenna, the TV channels begin to appear. The picture is clear, the colors remain stable, and there are no continuous signal interruptions. To make the test more convincing, I'll perform one more experiment. I disconnect the antenna from the TV and observe the signal changes. As soon as the antenna is unplugged, The screen instantly returns to the no signal message. All channels disappear, confirming that the signal truly came from this homemade antenna. Now, I'll reconnect the antenna once again. As you can see, within just a few seconds, the channels reappear and continue working normally. This proves that many electronic parts that seem to have only one purpose can be reused in completely different and surprisingly useful ways. Not only does this save money, but it also opens the door to many more exciting DIY ideas. If you enjoyed this project or found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates me to continue creating more repair, recycling, and DIY projects in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.